Hi, I'm Eric Kennedy. This is a poem about being or feeling useless. It's called, for example, an old mechanical alarm clock with horrible clanging bells on it. There are things we miss, things we think we should miss, and things we've accepted we don't need to miss. In this last category, there is much accidental and difficult dignity. Strings of Christmas lights that go out when one bulb has blown. Floppy disks. Hammers used in dentistry. We all have friends like this. Maybe some of us are like this, obsolete but unaware of it. Well designed for years ago, limited in range of uses, the kind of thing that unhelpfully reproduces existing structures, but in some cases, full of almost frightening purpose. As loud as a washing machine full of lead, loud enough to wake the dead and charge them for the service. Kia ora, thank you.
Hi, I'm Judy Cronenfeld in Riverside, California, and I'm happy to read my poem from the summer 2020 issue of SLANT. Tiny apartment, early girlhood recall. Our 3 rooms were once the still center of the snug world, like the Earth in the pre-Copernican universe, around which the immutable sun, planets, and stars whirred on celestial spheres nested like matryoshkas. Summer mornings I lay late, regal in my bed, suspended stories from the grimy city streets, watching stripes of sunlight flush and vanish on the wall. Hearing the music of the blinds Mother had tilted open while I slept, as they swung out from the window, cracked for the breeze's cool burst, and clattered back. Winter afternoons, stiff-wrapped in coat, hat, boots, scarf, mittens, lint on my collar, lifted away by Mother's spit-licked fingertip, I ventured out with her to the eternal village, grocer, cobbler, tailor, butcher, counting the icy steps there and back in groups of 10, like an incantation. Always then, on our return, suddenly unbearable coats were shucked in the hall. Keys jingled into the figured bowl. Packages were dropped with Mother's sigh of relief, our frozen cheeks tingling, thawed in the steamy hothouse heat, once the heavy door of our apartment opened and shut.
Hi, I'm Josh Lefkowitz, and this is my poem, Waffle. As a verb, it's interesting. To fail to make up one's mind. Who decided this? Whenever the subject of kids comes up, Brian turns into a delicious breakfast item. The British have a different translation, to speak or write, often at great lengths, without saying anything useful or important. Well, at least now I've got a title for that long ago abandoned half-novel. The English definition of waffle. It's Saturday again, and I'm awake even before the corner bodegas. Just me and the birds pecking around at crumbs and ideas. Today's to-do list includes alphabetize the books by genre, drop off clothes at the Salvation Army, and apparently the study of brunch entree option etymology. Also exercise, quit smoking, lose 10 pounds, leave New York, etc. Somewhere else, someone else, has already finished a 10K run and is checking on how the stocks held this week before waking up Junior for a dad-son breakfast. Some people grab their life by the throat, and shake it around until the days plead mercy. Hey, someone's got to be the CEO. As for the rest of us, we're just sitting on the stoop, stunned to still be here, endlessly vacillating. Delighted one minute, confused the next, praising the Lord in church songs on Sunday, cursing his name during Monday morning rush hour. And all the while we waffle, there's a voice inside. I think it's a soul, coming along with us this way and that, picking us up, dusting us off, keeping us company, always, egging us on.
I'm Catherine Howd Mahan, reading from Ithaca, New York. My poem is called After the Divorce, and it's in the voice of probably a villain. My imagining that perhaps Little Red Riding Hood had a grandfather we never heard about. After the divorce, I stayed away in the forest, mostly. Sometimes watching, sometimes not. I imagined her living there without me. Fire when she needed fire. An open window when she did not. Red kept coming into my dreams, small stitches and strong velvet. Age is a concept of calendars and stars. I've marked my own with bristles thick as my tongue after drink, coarse silver hairs on cheeks and chin. As she stooped in her summer garden, sipped elderberry wine alone. Our Dorothea, silenced, married off to bear a child, kept ignorant of me. I've been lonely, angrily lonely, since I found my boots in my hands. But years have taught me how to wait for just the right curve of path. I've found where flowers grow irresistible to a trusting girl, on the way to that gray woman who kept from our only daughter all I would have shared with her, all I would have clearly let her know.
Lauren O. Mitchell, and I will read a poem from the 2020 issue of SLANT. The poem's titled Hands. I have nothing new to say about hands, how mine splash water to wash the past from my morning face, draw a wet line between last night's slight sleep and the beginning of another day, a new day able to hold anything, the perfect lotto ticket, or about when young hands cupped the coldest water as I knelt by a spring, or how, having good aim, I can handle a weapon for protection, or that my hands reach to touch the touchable, a favorite fabric, lamb's ear softer than a lamb's ear, a cold glass on a hot day, and reach to pull close the sight, scent, and bite of nasturtiums and the bodies of those I want to hug, and how, because we stand and move on 2 feet, not 4, our hands are freed up to do what they want. And I have nothing new to say about how my hand so often seeks and finds your hand. But I want to say it anyway. Any way I can.
That Deep Place by Kenneth Pobo. Aunt Stokezia has opinions like nails hammered into a board. Water, my opinions flow away. She says I won't amount to anything. I'm 40 and I have yet to amount. A high school boy I wrestled in gym said he would get ahead of me. He pinned me. I went back to the edge of the mat. He died. I heard he had been successful, like Aunt Stokezia. For a time, she was a vice president. She speaks of those days the same way some others speak of the manger. I pour her more tea and tell her she looks fabulous. She explodes into a long laugh that comes from some deep place. I love that deep place. It also terrifies me.
Awake. I am awake in his death. It's as encompassing, as seemingly inescapable as the day that was my love for him and the night that was his love for me. It reminds me of old movies' vast, elaborate sets, which must have been as unconvincing to actors and crew as they were real to viewers. I am wide awake. I couldn't yawn if I tried. I couldn't yawn if your ghost came to me and pried my mouth open. How could I have guessed waking can be as empty as deep sleep, as terrifying as the most precise dream?
The other arrows of Eros. 1. A woman can fall in love 20 times a day. Beautiful things, of course, not so much cats as their innocent kittens. Delicate skeletal leaves in winter, everything that glistens, even the tracks of snails, fossils of imprinted fern, once green, wherever, however lit is longing in a color. Jelly's strangely sensuous wobble, kindling curled into sparks, clean linens filled with a lake of wind, movement in trees that is nearly conscious, opal's iridescence, and the surprising purple of eggplant poking so quaintly amongst the herbs, ruffled by a light rain, smooth skin of a forearm tattooed and itching to be touched. Anyone undressed is laughable enough to love. Volumes and volumes. When someone whistles unconsciously, or writing X, 2 lines yoked together with ink, zest of anything citrus. 2. Zealous minds love a good list, yearn to chronicle all like X's carved in bark to mark a path. Why this need to catalog, valuing the small, even unmemorable details? To teach ourselves to hear? A conch shell pressed to the ear? To see a thread running through our odd, chaotic lives? To become playful as children again, we order sounds and make a world of wind. Notice the potential of this mesmerizing balm when you lie waiting. Kindly place pleasures together like kin, whether blackberry jam or an impish kiss, a beehive's comb or God's brightness, fullness, filling each small seed. Eros can lavish us with more than empty infatuation. Look, what desire is born of the bright constellations and dirt-rot blooms that make life bearable and sometimes astonishing.
Hi, I'm Hilary Salick, and I'm happy to be reading my poem in SLANT number 34. The Teacher. After the performance, we stood outside the theater, waiting with her for her ride home. The good Lord wanted you to have this, she said to the man who came near, her fingers fumbling in her fleece pocket for the bill she knew was there, somewhere among the winter layers and her own body's bent geometry. She gave it, and before he turned to go, she asked him about his interests. Philosophy, he said, tentatively, as if surprised to be using his voice. I was a teacher, she told him. And when he asked, "What did you teach?" she murmured, "I taught children," looking down, so he had to ask her again. She is ancient, mythical, and I love to hear her poems. The man to whom she gave the money I have described before, the tumor on his left cheekbone, his bedraggled hair. Yet I was hearing his voice for the first time, ordinary in conversation, before he wandered away down the street. We were waiting like children outside the theater, quieter than children, older than children, more and less aware. And then we helped her into the car.
When does the snowshoe tramp begin to turn from deep enjoyment of the chilly day, as snow, tree trunks, and clouds against blue churn, and the heart pumps firmly into each leg? One blister vies with the heat in my soles. I can't wait to take off these snowshoes. The loss of traction makes me reach for my poles. Please let me walk without elephant shoes. This thirsty work, the water flows through me. I yearn for the permit center, the toilet, and glycogen depletion weakens my knees. Let me collapse down before the banquet and dine above the city of Palm Springs. Steep snow slope, please propel me to my dreams.